I never imagined that the moment of my death would become the greatest gift of my life. Before we begin, if you're drawn to stories from the edge, between life and whatever comes after, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will challenge everything you thought you knew. Disclaimer: this story is a dramatized narration of a real near-death experience, based on the first-hand account of Trisha Barker. The story is told in the first person to create a deeper emotional connection and immersive experience. The voice you hear is not Trisha's, but a recreation for storytelling purposes. It was supposed to be a good day. A clear Texas morning in 1994. I was training for a 1OK race in Austin. My body strong, focused, full of life. I remember tying my shoelaces tightly, feeling the cool morning breeze against my skin, the rhythm of my heartbeat syncing with anticipation. I didn't know that within hours, I'd be staring down death and leaving my body behind. The crash came without warning. A sudden, thunderous jolt, metal twisting, glass exploding around me. Time slowed, my vision blurred, the sound of screaming, my own, echoing through the shattered silence, bones breaking, my spine snapping like dry wood, my chest caving in, and then nothing. Then chaos. I woke up in the emergency room. If you had been there, if you had heard me scream, you wouldn't have believed that hours later, I would describe this experience as beautiful, because in that moment, I was not at peace. I was trapped in my body, in agony, pure, raw, unfiltered suffering. They couldn't give me any painkillers, no sedation, no numbing. My body throbbed, searing with pain in every inch of my spine. And yet, all I could do was wait. 17 hours. No one should suffer like that. But I did. Hour after hour, I lay on that hospital bed, barely breathing, with bones shattered and insides torn. And then, surgery. I was wheeled into the operating room. The lights above were sterile, cold. Everything smelled of alcohol and latex, sharp, clinical, unwelcoming. Strapped to the table, I was nothing but a broken body to them. A case file. A spinal trauma with internal bleeding. The surgeons stood around me, masked, unreadable. Machines beeped. Someone adjusted the radio. A soft song played in the background. The melody was warm, but it felt distant, almost surreal. Then they began. Steel met flesh, and somewhere between one breath and the next, I slipped away. One moment I was there, clinging to pain. The next, I was above it, floating, weightless. At first, I didn't even realize I had left. There was no tunnel, no flash of light, just a gentle drift, like being carried by warm air. My spirit rose from my body, not with fear, but with wonder. I floated above the operating table and I could see everything. My body, broken, lying motionless under the harsh light. My back open in a deep incision, blood staining the sheets. The surgeons moving like clockwork, but I wasn't afraid. I wasn't even disturbed. I was fascinated. I saw the entire room at once, not just from one angle, from every angle, as if my perception had expanded into 360 degrees. There were no eyes, no ears, only awareness. I recognized the faces of the nurses. I noticed the playlist on the radio. I even saw a small tear in the surgeon's glove. And yet, none of it felt urgent anymore. The pain was gone. The panic had vanished. What remained was curiosity, pure childlike awe. It was like rediscovering the world, but through a lens of truth. I realized then, We are not our bodies. We are passengers. And I had just stepped out of the vehicle. For the first time, I could feel my essence, the part of me that had always been there, hidden behind flesh and fear and survival. And it was light, not just in weight, but in presence. And there was something else, ... A joy began to build in me, soft at first, like the first spark of laughter after a long grief. I felt alive in a way I had never felt before, not restrained, not defined by pain or doubt. I was me, fully. But as I hovered there, staring at the body I once called mine, I felt something shift, a presence, a new frequency entering the space, a different kind of awareness, not human, not of this world. Something was coming, and then they came. There was no sound, no footsteps, only presence, a shift in the fabric of the space around me, like gravity bending. Two beings, towering, majestic, radiant. They stood nearly 3 meters tall, not male, not female, and yet more graceful than anything I'd ever imagined. Their bodies weren't made of skin or bone, but light, dense, structured, almost liquid, like stars had folded themselves into human form. Their long hair flowed to their shoulders, not moved by wind, but by something unseen. Energy, perhaps. And their eyes didn't just see me. They understood me. People always ask me, were they angels? Did they have wings? Were they dressed in robes? No, they were nothing like the paintings or the stories. They were far more. I called them angels simply because I had no better word. But what I felt in their presence went beyond religion. It went beyond names. It was peace. Absolute. Undeniable. Their presence wasn't just comforting. It was cleansing. It felt as though, just by being near them, the deepest wounds inside me, not the physical ones, were being healed. They didn't speak. At least, not with voices. Their communication came in bursts, not of sound, but of emotion. Complete thoughts, entire messages, compressed into feelings, imagery, and knowing. And within those waves, there was love, not human love, not something tied to possession or fear or desire. This was unconditional recognition. They knew me, all of me, every shadow, every secret, and I had no desire to hide. And then I saw what they were doing. They weren't just watching the surgery. They were participating. Their light extended, long tendrils of energy, and passed through the backs of the neurosurgeons, into their hands, into their movements. They didn't control them, but flowed through them. These surgeons had no idea. But I saw it. I felt it. The beings of light were performing a spiritual surgery, one that guided the physical one that restored my body in ways modern medicine never could. They were weaving me back together, piece by piece, from the inside out. And in that moment, I understood something I had never known. Healing is not just physical. It is energetic, emotional, divine. And love, true, unselfish love, is the greatest force behind all of it. As the angels worked, I felt my understanding of the world expand. I could sense knowledge I hadn't earned, feel truths I hadn't studied. It was like touching the very core of the universe and finding that it loved me. The beings looked at me one last time, and I could feel them say, not in words, but in absolute clarity, "You are not alone. You are meant to remember this." And then, silence. I floated, still, but now I was no longer just an observer. I was transformed. I passed through the hospital like mist. No barriers, no resistance. Just smooth, seamless passage, like water flowing between the cracks of this world. And as I moved, I felt pulled, drawn by something gentle, but irresistible. I stopped briefly in the hallway, not because I meant to, but because I saw him, my stepfather. There he was, standing at a vending machine, reaching in, pulling out a Snickers bar. It was such a mundane moment, almost absurd, and yet it grounded me in the strange reality of what was happening. He had no idea I was there, just a flicker in the air beside him. But I watched him walk away, chocolate bar in hand, back toward the waiting room. A small, ordinary moment, in the midst of something extraordinary. And then, I wasn't in the hospital anymore. I was in the back of a truck, my grandfather's old blue Chevy. But it wasn't old, not anymore. It gleamed in the sunlight, if it was sunlight at all. The light here didn't come from above. It came from everywhere. And he was there, my grandfather Clyde. He had passed years before, but here he was, younger, vibrant, smiling the way he used to when I was a child. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. I jumped into the truck bed, barefoot. The metal was warm, but not hot. Familiar. Safe. He drove slowly, as he always had, steady, careful, and we rode together down a dirt path surrounded by tall, glowing grass. The grass, I wish I could describe it. It wasn't green the way we know green. It was alive, radiant. It pulsed softly with light, as if it breathed. Every blade shimmered with some invisible truth. I could feel it under my feet, brushing my skin like silk and starlight. The road disappeared beneath us. The truck began to rise. Not like floating, more like being lifted into a dream where gravity had no meaning. And then, he was gone. I was no longer in the truck. I was alone. But I wasn't afraid, because I wasn't alone in the way humans fear. I was surrounded by something vast, an embrace without arms, a presence without form. And above all things, I was surrounded by love, not the kind we speak casually. This was a force, a current. It ran through me and around me. It knew every part of me and accepted all of it. There were no voices, no judgments, only the overwhelming truth that I had never truly been alone. I wish I could describe that feeling. Imagine the happiest you've ever been, the moment of your greatest joy. Now multiply it 1,000 times. It was that. No pain, no fear, no doubt, just belonging. And even now, even after all these years, a part of me is still there, longing. Because in that moment, in that radiant, timeless space, I understood something that most of us forget. We come from love. We return to love. And we are meant to live in love while we are here. I had said yes, but I didn't understand what it would feel like. The moment I made the choice, the light didn't vanish. It released me, not in anger, not in sadness, but in the way a mother lets go of a child's hand. Not because she wants to, but because she trusts the path ahead. I began to descend. It wasn't like falling. It was like being compressed, folded back into something smaller, tighter, heavier, from infinite awareness into a single fragile point, from timeless love into time. I felt the layers of my spirit contract, closing like petals at dusk. And then, darkness. I was back in the hospital, back on the operating table, back in pain, agonizing, suffocating pain. The return was not gentle. It was a brutal, cold slap, as if the body had been waiting for me, tense and angry, all this time. I gasped. The room was bright, too bright, My skin felt wrong, too tight, too raw. Every nerve screamed. And yet, I was grateful, because I remembered every moment, every wordless message, every shimmering blade of grass, every glance from the beings of light, every beat of the cosmic love I had touched. Even as I lay motionless, wrapped in machines and wires, I felt connected to everything. To my mother's tears in the waiting room, to my stepfather's hand gripping a candy bar, to the nurses bustling in and out, to the people who had yet to hear my story. I was still in the world, but I was no longer just of the world. Something had shifted inside me. Permanently. I no longer feared death. I no longer saw life as random or cruel. I had seen what was waiting beyond the veil. And now, my purpose was clear. To carry that light back with me. To live what I had learned. Not to preach. Not to prove. But to embody. They had told me, without words. You are not alone. You are meant to remember. And I do. Every day, even when the world feels heavy, I remember the light. And that's why I came back. It's strange how one moment can redefine an entire life. Before my death, I believed in struggle, in control, in survival, in trying to earn happiness. But after what I saw, after what I felt, none of that matters. There is no currency more powerful than kindness, no achievement greater than compassion. You could build empires, earn praise, appear perfect, but if your heart does not radiate love, even quietly, even anonymously, then what you build will vanish like dust in a storm. Love is not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet gesture, a pause before reacting, a deep breath before judging, a moment of listening when no one else will. This love, the one I found in the light, doesn't seek reward. It doesn't keep score. It just gives. And in giving, it remembers who we really are. So I ask you now, what have you done in this life for someone else? Not for attention, not for gain, but just because you could? We are not here to conquer. We are here to connect, to evolve. And every single act of love, no matter how small, leaves a mark in eternity. When I think back to that other world, to the luminous beings, to my grandfather's smile, to the field of light, I feel an ache, not because I want to escape this life, but because I want to bring that truth into it. So if you hear this, if something in this story stirred something in you, it's not by accident. Maybe, just maybe, you've been carrying a little piece of that light too. Maybe you're here to remember as well. If this story touched something in you, leave a comment below with the words, "Being of light," not just for me, but as a sign to others who are remembering too. And if you're drawn to stories like this, to voices from the edge, to echoes from beyond, subscribe to this channel. There's more to come. Much more. You are not alone. You never were. And you never will be.